Like Us one.
That was last year.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. 5 Grammys though. They won it last week. Imagine you won 5 Grammys after dissing Drake the whole year.
That's good, that mate.
Hey, you might as well make a new disc for Clear Lake, isn't it?
What's that about making a diss track for Clear Lake? Is that?
Yeah. Diss track from Clear Lake. You want to hear that, or do you want to? I'll wait till the end of the show.
Mate,
Let's just start off with that.
Featuring hits such as "There are no good value options available in January." Hit single ahead of schedule.
Get stuck in, Father. Let's hear it.
What else?
Oh, he's pulling up the lyrics.
What else we got?
He's pulling up the lyrics.
Somebody get the beat up, man.
Okay. What are you looking for? Boom, boom, boom.
Say Bali.
Boom.
I hear you got some kids.
Boom.
But I chart you now place with all my concerns.
Boom. Boom.
To anyone who's
Can we
done
take
with
the
them
beat
over
out
the
and
burn.
listen to the lyrics?
I said, let's take what you earn. They tell me clearly getting sloppy with these hand-me-downs. Partner sniffing around the deals like hounds. And what's that out consultant is around? Certified owners, more like certified. What? Oh, God, man.
He's doing the Kendrick Lamar. He's doing the Kendrick.
Oh, God, man. This is what our club turned into, man.
I have to admit, that's actually a very funny way to start. A very negative podcast. It's the day after Chelsea have lost 3-0 against Brighton. Me and Charlie, Fathur, we were all there. Nina. You know, things are so bad. It's causing problems in the household. We're having domestics. You know, it's causing a lot of problems, and I don't blame any Chelsea fan that feels just depressed, really, because this is the worst it's been. It was worse than when we lost 1-0 against Southampton. It's worse than when we lost against Middlesbrough. It is the low of lows, and there is a simple reason for it, unfortunately, because it goes to the stage where we're not even talking about football anymore. Of course we will talk about football, because irrespective of the politics, I think, you know, we are a football channel. I mean, that's why I do this. I want to talk about football. We all want to, but we have to talk about the reason that there is no hope, and it's because whatever you change on the pitch, it will not change off the pitch. And that is the big concern. And I have to say, I can't speak for everyone else in this room. I can only speak for myself. I think that I feel stupid. I feel a bit stupid. Being so optimistic and feeling like we could all pull in the same direction. And I was fully aware that these owners wanted to make money out of this. That was never, it was obvious. But it's the way you do it. And I thought that having a successful club would help the opportunity, would help bring the club to a stage where the value would be high enough and they could sell it on for a profit, whatever. And I think we're in a much worse situation, I fear. And you know, I don't really know what to say. And I want to say that I have a lot of respect for. Although I don't agree with everything Johnny says, or Younes, or these guys, you know, I don't agree with everything. I agree with the fact that they saw it before any of us could, and you know, it's just a sad commentary, really. I mean, who wants to kick us off?
Well, I echo the feeling stupid part of what you said, because I also think falsely optimistic is something I've always been described with. And I've just chosen to, I don't know, maybe put my rosy glasses on and always choose to think that the owners have the club's best interest at heart. And of course we all knew business would be a big driving factor in making money financially, but I didn't actually think that we'd sacrifice the present day and everything that Chelsea has stood for in terms of being competitive season in, season out, winning trophies, showing that fight and having that identity. I didn't realise that would be sacrificed, and for a supposed utopian future, which we never really understood what that would be like, when we would be competing for a title, when we would be looking great on the pitch and all of that. So I do think I am a little bit stupid for actually, and I said this yesterday in my match reviews and my fan cams, that I think I've been a bit disrespectful to myself as a Chelsea fan and to other Chelsea fans saying, you know, trust the process, because now I think, you know, we're looking at the bigger picture. We can rewind. And, you know, you say that we didn't see this coming, but I think why I cut most managers previously slack, because I always knew the problem was much more deeper rooted. Fundamentally, there's a foundation here that wasn't really set in place. What is the structure here? Yes, we've been spending, buying, investing in young talent from all around the world for them to come good someday. Some will, some won't, but actually they said we are fine to sacrifice the present day and the success of the club for these players to come good someday. Didn't bring in leaders, didn't bring in experienced players just because it goes against what they've wanted to come in with this new model for. And ultimately, what are we left for? Players learning on the job, being hot and cold, no consistency really for more than, okay, we went through a sweet patch, but now it's not a run anymore. 2 wins in 9 in the Premier League. That's not a rough patch. It's becoming a problem, and the games we have coming up, they don't fill me with confidence that something changes from today to next week. So for me, it's always been, I've looked further past the manager. Was Graham Potter until the very end, and was Poch until the very end. People laughed, but I always knew whatever decision the owners made next, it would be a wrong one. This isn't even about Maresca anymore, because I think what we're seeing is that the decisions made at the very beginning, ultimately, maybe they were looking for a yes man. Maybe they were looking for someone that wouldn't question why Chelsea aren't competing for top 4 or why that's not a priority. Maybe that's, you know, the thing. And we also kind of laughed at the fact that Maresca said we're ahead of schedule. We were thinking, oh, he's playing the humble card. Guys, how wrong are we? I'm a clown for thinking that, you know, that was all a little bit of a show. I never thought we'd be competing for the title this year, let's be real. But he meant it for real, ahead of schedule, for being second and for actually winning as many games as we were, because the players were actually doing better. Results were better. But yeah, ultimately went through the sweet period. And I think because we've been so deprived of great football and celebrating goals, as sad as that may sound, that, you know, we chose to put on our rosy glasses in that sweet period and just hope that things would be better. But ultimately, if there is a rotten apple and it's further within, then it obviously is going to spread. And yeah, things are going to go downhill. So yeah, I've had a lot of self-reflection since yesterday. And I do think that, yeah, rosy glasses come off, the bigger picture here, 3 seasons in. Come on, guys, when is this utopian long-term project going to come into existence?
But I was going to say, I don't think it's stupid, right, to have an optimistic outlook at the beginning of something new. Why is that stupid?
I mean, you kind of had to, though, didn't you? Because
Like,
what else were you going to do?
This is what I mean, right? If people want to go into something with a negative outlook from the onset, fine. But for me, like, what's the point, really? Like, you know, you have to be optimistic with these things. It was never ever going to be the same as it was, because it was a unique situation for 20 years. So it was always going to be different. Like, did I expect it to be this different? No, absolutely not. And you know, they obviously gutted everything from top to bottom, and any semblance of what used to resemble Chelsea is now gone, in terms of players, in terms of identity, in terms of mentality, in terms of winning culture, and all these things are gone. Okay, I didn't think it would be this bad, but it's not wrong to come with an open mindset and be optimistic and want it to do well and hope that it does well and give it every chance to do well. There's nothing wrong with that. If people, you know, were at the start were against it straight away, fair enough. This is not an I told you so situation, you know. It's one of them where I choose to be optimistic from the start about things and give it a chance. Other people might not. But ultimately, you know, when the evidence changes, then your opinions can change. And my opinion has changed on what we're seeing right now in terms of the football is shit. We'll get to that. Football is terrible. The decisions being made are absolutely shocking. You've got people in positions on the pitch, in the dugout, in the directors, in the ownership, who are out of their depth completely, have got zero experience, don't really know what they're doing. And there's a mentality seeping through the club that no one's really bothered about losing. No one really cares. Oh, we lost another game. So what? There's no accountability, you know. At the end of the day, these directors could get us relegated and they'd still be there and nothing would be said. And, you know, you've got these constant, you know, briefings that come out and they just make us, like, just make the fans like idiots. Mm-hmm. You know, oh, we're ahead of schedule with this, with that. Oh, you know, we're told the target is actually Champions League next season. But then Pochettino was sacked for not finishing in the top 4. So what is it? We're ahead of schedule. It's just like it's all nonsense that just basically takes the fans for idiots and shows that this ownership, this club, don't actually care about the fans. They'll just say whatever they want to say to try and make people believe in what they're doing. And ultimately, like, people are seeing through it now. And this is probably the most united the fan base has been on a certain issue for as long as I can remember. Normally, like, the fan base is quite divided on certain things. With the ownership right now, like, pretty much everyone, you might find a few that, you know, are somehow still backing this project, which is nonsense. But generally speaking, all the fans feel the exact same way right now, which is a positive thing.
I could go back to that Super League protest like a couple of years ago. I was there, and
Oh, you went to the protest?
yeah, I went to the protest a couple of years ago. So initially, it was the there was an announcement that the ownership, what's it called? Was it Bruce Buck at that time?
Bruce Buck. He would have been the chairman.
Yeah, it would have been the chairman, and then there was a news leaking to the media that there was another owner that involved as well. Was it Man City owners? But I'm not quite sure. I think also the Glazers, the Cronkies, and at that time, before I remember that game, it was before the Brighton kickoff. There was maybe about 50 people turned up to that protest, and then after that, an hour, about 2 hours, 3 hours time, just people suddenly just keep growing. Even Man United fans just joined the protest. And this is the thing that Chelsea fans got to realise of. If you want to make a protest, it's fine. But you're going to have to make everyone get involved. What I mean by that, supporters trust got to be involved. The pitch owners got to be involved. Influencers as well. So you have to involve everyone. Just make them in the same page. Simple as that.
Honestly, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's such a sad... It's a sad episode, isn't it? I feel a bit of tension in the room right now. I do feel it because...
We're not going to have a scrap or anything.
No, but it's you know what it is? It's almost like when you go to a funeral and you see people and you're like...
It's the funeral for us, mate. It's Chelsea's funeral, mate. We're finished. The mate, that's buried. We were, whatever we were from 2004 to 2022 or whatever, that's gone. That's in a coffin in the ground somewhere. This is a new whatever it is, and it's pretty difficult. But I don't know, like, what really can you do? Like, obviously, yeah, people talk about protests as Father mentioned and that. And look, I'm not going to knock anyone that organises a protest. But what people need to understand is that if you organise something and 5 or 10 people turn up,
but that won't be the case.
No, let me finish. That's not doing anything, really.
Yeah.
That's not sending a message. If that gets back to the ownership or people within the club, they look at that and they see, 5 or 10 people have turned up. That's not really how the fan base really feels. So if you're going to do something, as far as you've got to do it properly. I've got no problem with a protest. I've got no problem with sending a message to this ownership and, fans trying to take action and force change. That's fine. But if you're going to do it, make sure the message gets through and make sure you don't give the media any way whatsoever to try and make the fans out as the bad people and make the fans out as idiots. If you're going to do this, everyone's got to be pulling in the same direction. So whilst it's great that people are trying to organise stuff, the small protest is not doing anything, okay? If you're going to do it, you've got to go big, you've got to make a message, and you've got to have everyone on board because they need to see that the entire fan base feels this way, and there's power in numbers. If you've got a few people here and there, whilst it's appreciated that people are trying to do something, it's not having the impact that people want to have. So it's about getting everyone on board. It's about getting people all pulling in the same direction. And it's about making sure that you can get as many people turning up as possible. Because protest is powerful if it's done in the right way and if it's done respectfully. And so that's the thing. Like, you don't want to cross the line and be disrespectful. You don't want to cross the line and, give the media a way to try and paint the fans out to be the bad people. Have plan something, have what you want to do, organise it, send the message across in the right way, and do what you can do.
Is there a respectful way to protest?
Yeah,
the way that
there is.
We're talking about? Well, the way that a large section of the fans are talking about. I mean, is there a respectful way of basically saying? Because, there's two ways you can say this. I'm asking you. You're either saying change the model,
yep,
or you're saying sell the club.
So sell the club's not going to happen, by the way, from a protest. But what you have to do is change the model. You've got to try and influence change. Okay, so let's start small and build up. There's no point coming in at the bottom and thinking, oh, one protest is going to remove the ownership and force them to sell. It's not. What you can do is plant seeds of doubt and make it clear that fans are not happy with what's going on and demand change. If we can get the model changed, if there's any way of getting the model changed, that has to be explored, and that can only be a good thing. Because right now, sitting and taking no action is not going to change anything. But
Exactly.
at least if you try, then you know, and we'll find out what these guys actually think. But ultimately, I think we know they're not really that fussed about the fans. They don't really care.
And that's exactly why every fan should speak up and send a message. I think you just put it simply there. And I think, again, I think us Chelsea fans not doing anything, not sending a message is doing a disservice to us as Chelsea fans. I think it undermines our loyalty as well a little bit. And I think that's the big realisation I've come to, is that, of course, we have to send a message. I think even I, myself, as a fan, as a content creator, whatever you want to call it, have almost been internalising mediocrity a little bit too much recently, because I've always chosen to believe about the bigger
Part
picture.
of the problem.
Well, no, but there you go. But I'm coming out and I'm actually accepting that. And I'm saying that it's really important to come to a realisation that what part of this is okay, guys? How many seasons out of Champions League football is acceptable for Chelsea?
Well, one more
How
according to
many?
one more according to the plan.
And is that acceptable? Yes or no? It's a really simple answer.
No, of course it's not.
No, exactly. There you go. So that's, I think, literally simply where it begins. If you want to send a message and you want to say, no, this is okay. And I think the very fact that they've come in and, okay, they've made it clear they want a clean slate for Chelsea. They want nothing from the old regime, literally, again, changed everything from the backroom staff to everyone involved. And I'm sorry, but if you're changing everything so drastically, of course you don't actually care if that foundation is going to be carried through, or you're interested in using that strong foundation there and then building and then investing and then, okay, doing things financially your way. That would be a very, very different picture. But to scrap things, and then again, that's where I feel a little bit stupid. Well, how can we be singing we want our old Chelsea back when everything they have tried to do is go away from the old Chelsea, go away from that and build something new, and again, a utopian Chelsea in the future for this long-term process that none of us know what that looks like, and here we are. And I think that's where we as fans, and I don't think, we'd be painted out to be the bad guys, to actually understand. And I mean, all of us support Chelsea because we fell in love with the club, and for everything that it stood for. I mean, I'm literally born in 2001. Success is all I know. And this isn't about being entitled or not. It's about growing up and watching the values, the ethos and everything that the club has stood for. The Terrys, the Czechs, the Lampards, the Drogbas, the Champions League trophies, and the way that we won that first one and the way we went on to win the second one. And I think all of that has been stripped. And again, that is almost like an intention there. And of course, it's also stupid to believe that the owners don't want Chelsea to win. Because again, if they are money driven, well, winning brings money in, right? But it's the way that it's being done, and it's the way that you're sacrificing present day success for this long term future. And I'm sorry, but if you thought any Chelsea fan would have been okay to sacrifice 4 years out of Champions League football, or even 3, for us to get somewhere in the future to be challenging for the title consistently, again, this is a big what if here for the next in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Again, there's so many what ifs, and to be coming in and to be saying this big what if to a Chelsea fan with no kind of vision there clearly established for us to get on board with then and believe, that's the biggest problem. And we accepted a season out of the Champions League, didn't we? We kind of got behind it in the end because it's ultimately what we had to do. Get behind the manager, get behind the new players. This is the new ideology, and that's why we all jumped in to have full faith. Of course, you're going to back your club at the end of it. Charlie is right. Yes, of course, we're not going to come into a new regime. Yeah, how things were done, we weren't happy with it, but it happened, didn't it? And what did we do? We had to get behind it. We had to start somewhere and get behind everyone at the club because, okay, whatever it is, it's Chelsea at the end of the day, right? It's our club. But now it's come to a point where we're realising that actually, guys, maybe we have been made to be fools a little bit. It's just how I feel. It really is how I feel.
100%.
And I'm sorry, but again, I said this to yesterday. I'd be disrespecting Chelsea fans if I continue to say, trust the process, guys, it's going to be fine. Because ultimately, I've really, really stopped to believe that now.
But it's interesting though, so I've said that I don't believe into the fact that they don't want to win. But then when you look at how they operate and how they've acted, and you look at their actions, those aren't the actions of people that want to win.
Yeah.
Like for me, the January window confirmed a bit of a change of thought for me that actually, do you know what?
100%.
Maybe these guys don't want to win. Maybe these guys aren't bothered about winning. because they actively chose to make the squad worse and it sacrificed our season and quite possibly cost us any chance of playing Champions League football next season. That's when I was the point where actually, do you know what? Maybe they don't want to win. They can say they want to win or they can give off the impression they want to win, but their actions show that actually, no, we're not fussed whether we win now or whether we win in 5 years' time. And that's poor.
That's a really worrying. Go on, Fathur.
Forget January transfer window. But what about the last summer that we've had so far?
Underwhelming, right?
And what about the summer that we've had under Pochettino as well? We signed about 10 plus players. Gusto, Nkunku. You got bloating. A lot of people talk about bloating squad, but the problem is that the way that these directors identifying those issues, you got Jackson apparently. I was told that Jackson was a striker, but apparently he said Maresca come out and said he's not a striker, and then one of the points from the start of the season, Maresca keeps saying about Nkunku playing as a 9, and then he said playing as a 10. Why are you backtracking on everything you said from the start of the season?
Well, we'll get to the manager. We're sort of trickling our way down. So we've talked about the ownership. We've got to talk about the sporting directors as well, and then we can talk about the manager and the players as well. We've still got basically 40 minutes left because we started a bit late, didn't we? But no, I completely agree with what you're saying, Father. And the manager's almost in a situation where he has to backtrack because if he maintains the same confidence that he had at the beginning of the season, it just comes across as delusion, which almost looks even worse, that you're not even acknowledging the fact of where we are as a club. But he's certainly acknowledging it, but he's also not trying to bounce back. He's not showing any sort of fight, any ambition to get out of the situation that we are in. Okay, cool. We didn't do well in January. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about the fact that we don't have Jackson, we don't have Guiu? You've got Nkunku there, who, by the way, is on the cusp of world class, in my opinion, if you're playing properly. And he can't get a tune out of a player who is established and ready-made. But again, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent.
I disagree with what you said because you said about going up, going to have a say against the ownership. But look what happened. What we have previously experienced so far. That you got Pochettino, you got Potter. They said everything that you said against the board's vision. There you go. See you, bye.
Yeah, bro, they're noting that down.
No. I totally agree. He's in a very, very, very difficult situation. You'd argue that Chelsea's arguably top 3 hardest jobs in world football. At one point, I would have said Everton, United, and then Chelsea's probably in that category as well. Maybe Barcelona as well.
Have you noticed how his press conferences have changed so much over the course of the season? Remember when he first come in, right, and the first part of the season where everyone was, praising his honesty and how refreshing it was that he was so upfront and truthful in press conferences. Now, we're fast forwarding and you sit and listen to what he says and he's in a difficult position. He's probably saying what the club want him to say. The guy is just chatting lie after lie after lie in all these presses at the moment. You can't take anything seriously that he's saying. Like, there's been such a big change from the honest, open-speaking manager in the first part of the season to now you're just lying and just trotting out the club line. Because we know that he's not happy with what's going on. We know that he's not happy with the January transfer window, even though he says he was. We know that he didn't want Joao Felix, even though he said he was behind the signing. We know that, he wanted midfield reinforcements and didn't get them. We know that he wanted a striker in January and didn't get them. Like, all these things that he's saying that he's happy with, he's not happy with it, and we know he's not happy with it. So the fact that, the manager's just lying, club are taking... Another example of the club just taking the fans for idiots. No one can look at that squad and tell me that they're happy with it, that the manager's fine with it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, our sporting directors are just... They are crap.
Mate, I'd love that job.
They are fucking useless. I mean, to be fair, I should be saying this really towards the ownership, but again, I think this is a collective message. And, this is something we want to almost try and say in a respectful way so that they actually listen. It's not just us saying, go to hell, blue curl, whatever it is. It's, listen, if you're going to be here, do it properly. I don't even have a problem with the multi-club model. The multi-club model can actually work very well. Man City are a great example of that. They've got Girona, they've got Sorry?
We need more clubs.
Well, yes, in order to make it work in that sense, absolutely. But what are we doing to bring this club in a direction where we can see any form of ambition whatsoever? I don't know. I don't understand it. It's about expanding revenues. It's about profit flipping players. I thought I was watching football, not real estate. If I want to watch real estate, I'll go on YouTube. I'll learn how to flip a house. I don't know.
Let's remember. You know what Feliciano said on one of the press conference in the Bloomberg convention. He said winning or losing is less important than making more money in the business.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But you know what? I haven't got a problem with people who want to make money. Because no, I don't have a problem with
Football
it.
club's
Because
a business at the end of the day.
it is gonna
It's a
happen.
business.
It's gonna happen, and you're either a well-run club or you're not a well-run club. And I'm looking at Liverpool top of the table. Are you going to tell me their owners care about Liverpool and the fan base and the traditions? They couldn't give two shits. LeBron James is one of the owners at Liverpool. He's not. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. His investment of 9 million, I think it was initially, has grown to much more than it was, and that's how he's looking at it. He's not, these guys aren't looking at it from the perspective of what are they winning. Of course they're going to enjoy it. They're going to post on social media with their champagne and a picture of the trophy. Of course they will. And if we win trophies, that's exactly what will happen. But I don't understand why you can't be in a position to even limit your spending, which, again, if that is the model, we spoke about wage caps. I know Charlie and myself, we spoke about Osman, for example. You didn't have a problem with not going for Osman because of that wage cap. And I don't think it's a bad thing to stick to your principles in that sense. But if there is no ambition whatsoever and you're not even going to strive for the top, then that is a real problem. Because even Tottenham, they're trying to spend, they're just shit at it. We are so, oh my God, we have a championship manager. I don't want to sit here and say I told you so, and I'm not going to go on a fucking Poch, man. Why did we sack that guy? I know he left. He wanted to leave. How the fuck can you work with Daniel Levy for 5 years? The biggest bum in football, the biggest bottle jobs. And you can't work with Clear Lake Capital for 1 year. You can't do it. It's impossible. It's like going to a fucking... Oh, my God. It's like you're going to a show at Vogue. You want to look at all the nice outfits, but you're blind. You can't see. What's the point? Why are you going there? What's the point? What am I doing here? I'm opening a book. There's no words. What am I paying for? It's shit. It's so shit. It's so bad. I have reached... I'm going to go to all the games. You're probably going to go to... I know you are. Nina, you go to most of the games. How the... Honestly, when we were in that away section at Brighton, I said it to... who was I sat next to? I was sat with Dan and
Ricky.
I was sat with Scott as well. Ricky, well, fucking hell, if you watch the vlog, you've heard what Ricky's had to say. And I was like, does this not remind you? It's not as bad as that, but it's not far off. Lampard's second spell at Chelsea. That's how it felt.
It's going that way. It's going that way.
But it's funny you even say that because you talk about, we're a well-run club recently. I mean, they made so many mistakes at the start where it got to a point where things were so low. They brought in Frankie Lampard to lift our spirits short term. And yeah, it's great because it's a chant that we've had a very, close affinity with. Yeah. No, but
I did love the
I
chant
don't know
of
if
the
it's
chant.
laughable because, we value Super Frank, but that's what it got to until they bought themselves time to figure out next moves. And they said, look, let's bring in a club legend back at the wheel just to have something that, was of the past. It's almost like, I don't know, just to, again, buy yourself some time, make the fans happy for a little while and work out what we're going to do next. But, it's just the fact that, to go back to the beginning with what we were talking about, the fact that so many fans are now in unison about things, they were torn about being, Poch out or Poch in at different points in the season last year. But I think what is different now is, it's so much bigger than the manager. And for me, even last year, it always was because, again, the resources that they're given, the players that they work with, the ideology that is installed, it all comes from up above. The manager takes over and just kind of, he's the one that vocalizes everything because he's the one that sits in the press conferences, he answers the questions. So he's simply just working, again, voicing everything that's coming from up above. Yeah, obviously we react negatively towards him because, again, we're hearing the words out of his mouth. It hurts, it's crap. But again, you know, this is all coming from up above. So that's where we are all now in unison with. We're all kind of on the same page that this is what he's told. And if he is being told that, well, he's not going to go against that and say, oh, actually, I think you're wrong. I think I should be getting this squad into top 4 this season. You know, no if, buts or maybes. And then the players hear it. And again, you know, we can talk about the players now. It's not even really their fault, is it? A lot of them have been brought into the club. They're players that are just up and upcoming, have barely played senior football, you know, have had good spells at their previous club, maybe for half a season or one at best. And they're coming in to a club where there's so much pressure to do well now from the fans as well, because I mean they're coming in and we want to see results, we want to see better football because there's been such a clear out, and a clear out was needed. That's not to say a revamp was needed, but there's a right balance of doing things, right? Bringing in exciting talent, let them learn from experienced players, backbone players. You talk about Liverpool, yes, they've got a new manager, but they've still got the backbone players that have been there, winning trophies. A title-winning squad that has leaders. You hear Van Dijk shouting out, vocalising things. We don't have a player that really does that because again, they all look to each other for guidance. You know, they shout at each other when things go wrong, but ultimately even that Thiago Silva, like that hurts so much. We didn't even replace half of what Thiago Silva was like, right? And again, where does this come from? So we can talk about the transfer windows and we can talk about the fact that, again, for me, the present day is not in their best interest. You see Manchester City falling off, going in and being the most proactive in the window. Where are they now? Here is Marmoush scoring a hat-trick. He was brought in this window to make things better. They're going to climb up. Guess what, guys? We're out of top 4 now. You look at Aston Villa next. We want to look at the results. Aston Villa, once again, a club that thought about the present day. They said, we're still in Champions League football. We still want top 4 very much. Let's go and bring in some players. 2-0 up in a knockout tie, and then they bring on their new players that can, you know, change things up. We look at Brighton, we're 2-3-0 down, and who are you looking at on the bench that you can think on? Bring on him. I can't wait for him to come on because I know he can change the game. And no offence, it's Tyreek George and Kin and Dewsbury Hall. And again, that's nothing on the players. It's once again that they were let down by the fact that there's not those bigger players they can look to. There aren't those experienced players that know what it is like to play at a club like Chelsea. So there they are. They're all learning on the job. And what can we expect, guys?
Do you know what's mad, right? You look at the money we've spent, right? We've invested over £1 billion in the squad, right? And you look at the starting 11 last night and you look at the bench. What is that?
Brighton have a better squad than us.
What is that?
Brighton are 3-0 up and they brought João Pedro on. Who almost got a 4th?
What is that? You know, that's not a team. That's just a random assortment of young kids that have just been plucked from around Europe and you just chucked them on the pitch hoping for the best. That's £1 billion investment, and that's what you got to show for it. The bench, diabolical. The starting 11, absolutely shocking. We had a week to prepare for this game, and we didn't have a single shot on target. We had a whole week to prepare. Across the 2 games against Brighton, we had 1 shot on target in the 180 minutes. And you're telling me that and apparently that's okay according to the powers that be at the club. Look at what we're doing. Nkunku as a striker does not work. It doesn't work. Okay, and this is where Maresca's got to do better. We can accept that, you know, Maresca is not the biggest problem. He is part of the problem because right now he is like you can criticize directors, ownership, and whatever, absolutely, and that's the right thing to do. But the manager shouldn't be immune from criticism either. Yeah. Like. What's funny is you look at how good the football was we were playing earlier in the season, right? It was free-flowing, counter-attacking football. As soon as we've tried to play more of the football that Maresca plays in terms of heavy possession-based football, suddenly we're playing shit, we're having loads of the ball, and we're passive, and we're doing nothing with it. So as soon as we've actually tried to play how Maresca actually plays, we've gone to shit. When we weren't playing the Maresca way as such earlier in the season, we were actually winning games. And this is where the manager's got to do better, right? I get it.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
As in
when we weren't playing the Maresca way.
So Maresca's way of playing obviously likes a lot of possession and whatnot. I'm not saying we didn't have loads of possession, but we very much played on the counter attack in that first part of the season. Now that we're going more towards the way that he likes to play in terms of having a lot of the ball, we're having a lot of the ball in these games at the moment.
We're doing 70% last night.
We're doing nothing with it. So the funny thing is actually we were playing better when we weren't actually playing how Maresca ideally wants to play. And now we're trying to do that. We can't buy a win. We can't score any goals. We can't even get a shot on target. And he has to do better. Look, we know the squad's not good enough, right? We know that injuries are causing us a problem, but you have to look for solutions and try something different. Don't sit and watch that rubbish and not try and change something up. Look at example Arteta today, right? Arsenal struggling big time against Leicester. He just tries something different. He puts Mikel Merino up front, a midfield player, and he scores twice and they win the game. Why does Maresca refuse to be just try something different? Why does he just stick to plan A? And we sat and watched it for 75, 80 minutes or whatever. It's shit. It's not working. It's not going to work. Why don't you just put Tosin up front? Try something. Let's go long ball. Just bang ball.
I mean,
But you know what? I
know what you mean.
You've got to try something different. Don't just sit and watch the same shit that has done nothing and expect it to do something. That's where he's got to do better. There's no plan B. So whilst he isn't the biggest problem, he is very much part of the problem, and he is the biggest part of the solution in the immediate short term. We can't just sit and watch this shit week after week. Nkunku being used the way he is right now in this current system, if you are not prepared to switch things up, you might as well send the team out of 10 men at the start, because it's completely and utterly pointless. Sancho was diabolical yesterday. Neto was shit yesterday as well. Palmer is becoming ineffective. We can't all do it on him. The midfield was shocking. The defence, absolutely embarrassing. Levi Colwill for that, what was it? The third goal, the second Minter goal, or the first one?
Minter goal.
Yeah,
the
guy was shrugged off the ball. Right, he's jogging back. He's moaning about a foul that was never a foul. It's weak, pathetic mentality. It was complete and utter shit from him, and it was from everyone. It's weak mentalities across the board, and it's not good enough, mate. You've got players that are delivering zero output, and nothing, and the manager just sits there and watches it and just does like for like changes. That's not good enough.
Even the first goal yesterday, I looked at Chalobah and his positioning as well against Matoma. I knew that ball was going to go in because I knew that Chalobah doesn't have that quality.
It was a great goal.
I mean, guys, I wasn't even mad at the first goal. I genuinely wasn't, because it was actually such a good goal.
No, but it was shit defending.
Of course.
You've got to give
I just thought,
it's a great touch.
When's
Yeah,
the
sure,
last time that we scored a goal like that? Do you know what I mean? Like the actual quality and the touch, the shifting of the ball and the shot. You know? And there you are, and that's a reaction. You know, the goalkeeper making a mistake in that game against us last year, and then there he is, like that ball and everything. And obviously credit to Matoma there, but then obviously after that, I mean, absolutely fuming. But yeah.
Let's talk about Cole Palmer for 1 second, because yesterday I looked at that player. He doesn't want to be here.
He's pissed.
He's pissed off. I'm telling you now, if Chelsea wants to keep Cole Palmer happy, you got to make that Champions League. But he doesn't have time to be here the next couple of years.
In all fairness, you know, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. Palmer signed a 9-year deal. What can he do? I mean, he can do one thing. He can down tools, but he's got no power.
Mate, you can always leave.
He's got zero power.
Bro, you can always leave.
You can always leave, Alex. I disagree there.
I don't agree. I agree that if he wants to leave, and the money is right, then that is a possibility.
And let's be real, the money will be right.
I'm telling you now, if Real Madrid comes in with larger money, he's gone.
Bro, the contracts mean nothing in football. It just gives you a security in terms of being able to get a bigger fee. That's all it is. Contracts are barely worth the paper they're written on. There's always a way out. If you could have a 9-10 year contract, it doesn't matter. Like, there's always a way out. If Palmer wants to leave, he'll go. It's that simple. You know, you can't hold players against their own will.
I do think that Palmer will stay another season.
Yeah, he'll do one more
this,
season
potentially, and then, you know, after a while, it's like, guys, I've been here for 3 years. What are we doing here? But yeah, I mean, we're working with bums. There's bums upstairs. There's bums in America. There's bums in England. There's bums in the boardroom. There's bums on the pitch.
How analytical.
Mate,
what else do you say? They're bums.
Do you know what needs to change?
They are shite.
Can we please stop inverting the fullbacks? It is not
But
working.
it's not just about...
I
appreciate what you're saying,
It's
Charlie.
not working.
No, but
it's not working.
Yeah, Gusto. You know what? Gusto's a fucking great player, man. He's a great player. And he looks like a bum, doesn't he?
Because the
Last
system's
season...
not suiting him.
If I said to you, Charlie, like, let's have...
It was in the top 3 best players last season.
100%. Totally agree. I looked at that guy last season, and I wasn't even that bothered that Reece James was injured, because I thought, you know what, Gusto, you are pulling your weight, son. And even when James come on, and we know he's still better than Gusto, like when he come in against Forest and we won that game, that's beautiful. Yeah. Gusto was there 100%. I look at that guy, I see a proper player, and he should be getting so much more credit for the good that he's done. But All these great players, your Marcus Alonso's, all of these players. If Maresca was here, he'd be asking Alonso to invert. Can you imagine that?
We just got to try something.
We're not getting
we've
the
got to
best
try
out of any
something
of our
different.
players.
No, we're not. And you're weakening, like, certainly on the right side. James and Gusto are so good going forward on the overlap, getting balls into the box. Like, I think part of the reason why the wingers have looked so poor, there's no one on the outside of them. They get the ball and then they're not direct. They don't take their man on. And then because there's no one on the overlap, they just turn around and recycle the possession behind. Like, that's got to change. Inverting the fullback is not working. Try something different.
I mean, maybe part of it, and I was personally, this is certainly a transition in terms of the style we had last season and this season, or I mean, just the style in general. I remember when Sarri come in, I was a fan of Sarri. I appreciated that it was going to take time. I know it was a difficult season. I think we actually still had success.
Well, third in Europa League.
But it's a lot easier to do that with Hazard, with Kante, with all of these guys. And now you're working with players, forget playing a certain brand of football. Like, they haven't even played football in England. They haven't even played together. You're not just asking players to change the foundations of how they play. You're asking them for everything. You're asking them to be composed when they've never had to be composed, when you've got an English Premier League press coming at you as opposed to whatever happens in France. You're asking players to cope with media pressure that's heavier than in any other country in world football. And then on top of that, they've got to actually trust that even though what they're doing isn't working and doesn't feel like it's going to work anytime soon, they're still going to get better. And in that sense, I do feel for the players. Now, there are players that are still underperforming. I mean...
They all are.
Yeah, 100%. But, Maresca's got to do more.
Do you know what's mad as well, right? Is that there's two players at Strasbourg right now that walk into this starting 11. Petrovic, the goalkeeper, and Andre Santos.
100%.
How is that possible?
And that goes back to what we spoke about. Like, it can't be football. It can't be a footballing reason. Like,
and do you know what?
Does it make any sense?
Both of those guys, right?
But it was painted out to be. Petrovic can't play out the back.
But both of those guys, by the way, be sold in the summer.
No. Santos.
No. I'm telling you, right? Everyone's saying, "Oh, Santos is not going anywhere. He's a key part of the project." You've heard this before. He was meant to be part of the squad for this season. They sent him on loan. Are you telling me that if 60, 70 million pounds bid comes in for Santos and we paid 13 million quid from a few years back, they're not taking that and accepting it? I will believe that Andre Santos is part of the squad when I see him in the Chelsea shirt on the pitch, because there's nothing else that has shown me to believe a single word that these guys say. Because we know full well if a big money offer comes in for Andre Santos, and we know that big teams are interested in him, they will sell up.
That is scary.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
But I'm not wrong.
No.
Like, we're developing players. What's the point of... So, like, you literally don't have a single player in your squad. Obviously, you've got Cobham graduates. Fair enough. You don't have a single player in your squad that you have signed for any reason other than to make profit.
Of course, but that's what we are right now. It's profit driven, mate. You look at the way that we're recruiting. You look at the way that we're signing players, right? The first thought is not how can this player improve us on the pitch? How can this player improve the team and the squad? The first thought is, how much money can this player make me in a couple of years' time? That's why we're fucked.
And it makes sense, guys. Look at the loans that were made out, the loans this January, right? Every single one was made in hopes that it will boost their market value, because they all get minutes at the teams they were loaned out to regularly as well. Felix, Chukwuemeka at Dortmund. Who else did we loan out?
Disassi,
Vega gets minutes. He'll be a regular starter. So if you think about it, again, yeah, you're thinning the squad, trimming it down mid-season, but you're also thinking about their playing minutes and the remainder of the
January
season
window
elsewhere.
was good, guys, because we got some loan fees in, so don't worry about it.
Those loan fees paid for a Mugu to then go to Strasbourg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, don't worry about it, guys. There were no good value options available, and we got some good loan fees in. And the one player we signed for midfield depth is actually not going to play for us for the second half of the season. He's going to go to Strasbourg
and
next year.
And the manager said it himself. Hey, what do you think about the new signing, Gaffer?
Oh, he's not going to play.
He's crap. I don't want to play him. He's never going to play for me, not in the immediate short term. But hey, I'm happy about it.
I mean, I'd almost go as far as saying, this guy won't even play 5 games for Chelsea.
Maybe a couple of pre-season matches.
No, I mean proper matches. He won't make 5 appearances for the club.
It's not bad.
He won't.
Shout.
Said it with Angelo at the time. He was never going to play for the club.
I forgot we signed Angelo.
Yeah,
as well.
so at that time Angelo was not going to play for the club. I stick by it. I
How
think
much should we sell him for?
20 mil. I think it was 20
How
mil.
much should we buy him for?
About the same.
5.5 roughly. Like, we buy him cheap, I think.
So we made 15 mil now. But you see, deals like that, I don't really have a problem with it if you're
No,
still
but-
bringing players into the club.
There's a problem with it when every single deal's like
Yeah,
that.
that's a massive issue. That's a huge issue. That is something that I.
But it's
top
American
club.
sports though. That's what it is. I mean, Father, you watch American sports probably more than any of us. Like what they're doing is they're trying to. I presume they're trying to run Chelsea like an American sports franchise.
Like an NBA, basically.
So go on, Father.
Because
Talk about it.
there's American sports, loads of player trading there all the time.
Lots of players are trade, like a trade deadline. You got lots of players kind of like moving around the free agency market. There's a term called unrestricted free agency after you're doing some sort of a trade like that. And so basically what they're trying to do in terms of transfer and that, it's just that they want to make the transfer is more likely the same, like, for example, the NFL or the NBA. So it's like everything what happens in the value of the market, it's kind of like you want to make it look like the same as the other sports.
I don't get it though. I don't like. How can you? It's totally different. There's no
That's the thing.
drafts.
There's no draft, nothing.
No, but this is it though. Like, how are you going to build anything sustainable and anything that resembles a winning squad when every transfer window you are changing 4 or 5 pieces of the squad constantly? How are you building any continuity? How are you going to build anything that's going to resemble a winning squad when, as I said, 4 or 5 players pretty much without fail every single window are either leaving the squad or you've got new faces coming in? How it's not working?
Forget that. Do you know how many players that we've been linked from the start of the new owners until now?
Oh, there must be hundreds.
So
Nearly 200.
Yeah.
Did you write them down as well?
I've-
Because I remember you wrote down all the
You know what,
January ones.
I
Was
think-
it 49 in January?
In this January, it's about 60 roughly. I haven't named that 11 more. There's about 60 players that we've been linked with.
He actually did write them down. I've seen it.
Like we only brought two players, Chalobah and Anselmino. That's it. No one else.
They're not even like we didn't even sign them. They're,
Yeah,
they're
recall,
players
innit?
we
That's
already have.
recall, but it's still.
It's like the bar is in, like as Lewis says, the bar is in hell. And I totally agree with him. I remember when we lost to Spurs and Potter was our manager, and I thought, like, honestly, we were all pissed off. But you do think to yourself, like, deep down, you're like, all right, next season we'll be fine. Like, we'll bounce back. Something's going to change. And it did. We improved. How do you build on that? And we just haven't built at all. We've done with no
and that's what
intention.
I'm saying. And we've been internalizing it, Alex. Like, because we're hopeful, because you think that next game you'll see something better, and in a few months' time things will be better. Next season will be better, and that's the thing. Because again, as a fan, you're kind of hopeful, right? Like, you just always are. You go to the next game expecting to see something different, and there's always that maybe and that little what if that's your driving factor. And we've been going into every single game since things have gone downhill like that. And that is kind of where the standards have dropped so low that you see something remotely great on the pitch and you're like, there you go. And that is, again, once again, why we've been choosing to kind of believe that a lot of the young players will come good. And you see certain things on the pitch and you're like, there's that player we've signed.
What are we basing it on, though?
What do you mean?
What are we basing these players coming good on?
Well, that's the thing. You want to believe that they will come good with what you see, but again, it's just, it's delusional to think so because a lot of them are young and not all of them will come good. Especially not in this present
every
moment.
decision that the club has been made for the last couple of years that we've been lied to from the beginning. You said we signed Enzo, that apparently Top Boy doing some scouting in the World Cup final in Qatar.
He wasn't doing no scouting.
I think he was there.
He was there. Yeah.
He was there. He was definitely doing some scouting. I heard. He was definitely doing some scouting. Then you brought some of the young players that like sort of Angelo and then Santos, and then people talk about he becoming that next Brazilian kid, wonder kid. And we got Esteval coming in the next summer for the club.
Don't forget Washington, mate.
There you go. Like
20 million
We
quid.
signed wonder kids from all over the globe, but what was the point of of loaning them back to Strasbourg. But like Charlie said, when they ever can make it to the first team, and that's why I feel like every decision that has been made up until now has been poorly run, and that's why us fans get frustrated at times. And then every time we've seen the briefs from the media, it's just that after bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. You keep saying about 5 to 10 years time, but we haven't got that 5 to 10 years time. We've got 5 years left of this ownership up until they're gonna have to sell the club, and then what are we gonna do then? Are we gonna make this club run into the ground? It's everything. Every miscommunication from upstairs down to bottom, it's been nonsense. I've heard Cucurella saying about we have to make top 4 this season. Then yesterday, Gusto saying the same thing like Cucurella. I've heard Win Stanley saying about it's only a process that we might. He said something back in October as well. But also,
I think people are pulling in different directions.
Look, also, it's a mixed messaging, mate.
I was thinking to myself, are they in the same meeting or are they in a different group chat or something?
No, I don't know what they're doing. But
They've
you know
got a Snapchat group chat. I don't know what's going on here.
Do you know what they're doing, right? Like, it basically, on the young players, by the way. What's the plan? Where's the development pathway to get these players the minutes to make them as good as we think they're going to be? Where is it? Because right now we're just accumulating a load of youngsters, right? Where some are going to play and develop, and others aren't going to play, and we're hindering their careers and costing them 1-2 seasons of pivotal development by having no plan for them. As a young player, right? Why would you come to Chelsea? Why? Because it's a complete mess on and off the pitch. You know for a fact that you probably sign a 7-year contract, and there's a very good chance that 6 months to a year later you'll be fucked off and you're out the door and you're going somewhere else. Like, where's the plan? Why would you come? Why would you join this football club right now? And also, when was the last time we signed a genuine world-class talent, right, and nurtured them into a top world-class player? Chelsea is not a good environment for nurturing world-class players and developing them into reaching their full potential. Mate, we don't do that. We just kill careers, mate. I know Man United are career killers. We're not far behind. We're not far behind.
And that is exactly why I think, just to circle back before we end, it's so important to say that is why it is worthwhile sending out a message and making this clear, because it can still get very much worse. You know, you talk about bringing and attracting
we're losing next
other
weekend.
players.
We're losing next weekend. It's getting worse.
Of course, I'm not even talking about results anymore. I think this goes beyond results now. I'm talking it can get a lot more worse from exactly what you say. You know, the fact that which player will find this whole thing at Chelsea attractive or be motivated to come at this club. And, you know, Chelsea has always been a place where players come, and what do they say? Oh, it's a dream to be at a club like this, you know, with everything that Chelsea stands for. Well, they're doing everything in their power to go against what Chelsea stands for and go and build something, again, utopian for the future. Or maybe even that's a lie. I don't know anymore. But that's the problem. So I think it can get so much worse. So I think it is really, really important that a message is sent out. And I don't want to internalise mediocrity here anymore. I think it's so important to remember our values as a club, remember what this club stands for, what it embodies, what we've done in the past, how, you know, successful we've been. So I actually, I encourage that. Every fan has a voice. Like, we are Chelsea Fan TV. I'm sure everyone out there feels the same, feels kind of disrespected, feels worn down, feels like going into every game they're still being hopeful for something that, again, they're not maybe even on the same page with the owner. So why should we, you know, be feeling hopeful? And again, as fans, that is kind of your only hope, because you're devoted to a club. So of course you're going to still go in feeling hopeful, feeling that maybe even somehow this all turns around, or it's just a big nightmare that we're going to come out of. But I don't think so, guys. I actually don't think so.
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better.
But will it get better?
Well, I don't know, but it's going to get a lot
if
worse.
Things stay this
it's almost like we look back at this, God forbid, and, well, I don't even know the legalities of it. People say they can sell, but God forbid, 5 years down the line, we could be looking at where we've been over the past, like even last season, for example, or this season, and we go, God, I miss those days, being second in the league.
I mean, or we could
being in the title race at Christmas. I miss that.
Or we could look back on it and we could have 5 years. We could have won loads of trophies, and it
was more optimistic way of looking at it.
And it was all an amazing plan, and we look like idiots. But I mean, I think with the way it's going right now, probably the first option is perhaps more likely.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think that, you know, if I'm confident about one thing,
we're going to lose next weekend. That's what I'm confident about.
I am very confident about no points against Aston Villa. I'll tell you, the best thing about the Southampton game is Barry, Big Fat Sam, and my friend Cam have got a hotel
Who's
booked
Big
in
Fat
London.
Sam?
He's a Southampton fan, mate. He's a Southampton fan. They've booked a hotel. They said, Alex, come for some drinks after.
On a Tuesday night, mate.
Fuck it.
Sounds
Fuck it. It's
appealing.
half term,
8:15
innit?
kickoff.
Oh,
It's half term, so I'm not working.
Oh, fucking
I've
hell.
got
Is
the
it
whole week
off.
8:15 kickoff? So we've gone from 8 p.m. back to backs against Brighton, a 5:30 away at Villa, and then an 8:15 at home. No,
yeah.
fuck these
But
people.
look, I just want to really quickly wrap up. Ultimately, there's a lack of trust here now, isn't there? Big lack of trust. So, yes, okay, again, if we send out a message and say that we are hopeful and want things to change, right? Buy experienced players. Go away in summer and bring in some people that are experienced and that can bring some of these young players up and actually
It's not happening.
hit the ground running. Okay, well then if it's not happening, Charlie, then why would you believe that anything good is round the corner in the future?
Well, I'm just saying I
we
do.
need
Yeah,
leaders and we
we
need
do.
people, players, backbone. We need a backbone.
Fucking hell, Nina. That's a
It's
backbone right there.
It's unforgivable.
I'm so
thank you.
miserable,
No, but it's
guys.
unforgivable to have spent the money we've spent and almost need a squad rebuild again.
It's true, innit? Father, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I did this with you in January. We're going to do it again. I want to know your prediction going into the end of the season. Now, just to recap on your predictions when we spoke about this in January, you said up until the Man City game, we would win every single game. Now, unfortunately, that didn't happen, but it's okay.
Oh, dear.
I will give you a chance to redeem yourself. Now,
dear.
try not to spend too long on each answer because obviously
Yeah.
we've got a few games.
Imagine
So
asking
just give me the points, all right? 0 points, 1 point, or 3 points. Aston Villa away.
1 point.
Charlie, can you add these up as well in your head as well?
I'm adding them up.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, add
mate,
them
I'm gonna
up.
have to get a calculator. I can't.
Get
no, I
the
can't do
calculator
that
out
mental
then.
maths, mate. Even
Oh,
though it's
mate,
like,
get the
even though it's like basically 1 + 3.
Let's just finish. Let's have some fun. Finish off. I want to.
What is it?
So
We're getting a point. We're getting a point against Villa.
1. 1.
Are you sure, bro?
I'm not
Just
taking
let
a
him
loss
answer.
again.
Let him
Alright,
answer.
1.
So 1 point against Aston Villa. Southampton at home.
4. Make that 3 points.
3 points.
Yeah,
Okay.
4.
Okay. Leicester at home.
7. 3.
3 points again. Okay. Arsenal away.
That's a 0.
10. I'll give it a 10. They got no striker. Might as well do it. I don't
Bro,
care. I don't
bro.
care.
Are
If
you
they're
saying a win?
Yes,
winner
I don't
Arsenal
care. I
away.
don't care if they're in the title race. I want to end their career. I want to make
Bro,
them be
we're
humble.
getting humbled.
I want us to be like playing that "Be Humble" song in front of their eyes.
No, we're
10.
we're
Okay.
we're- we're
Okay.
humbled.
Tottenham at home.
3.
Okay. Brentford away.
0.
Ipswich at home.
1.
Fulham away.
1.
Everton at home.
It's got to be 3, surely.
3.
Liverpool at home.
1.
Newcastle away.
0.
1.
Man United at home.
Oof.
Got
1.
draw written all over it, hasn't it?
1.
Nottingham Forest away.
0.
Right, how many's that left us with,
I think it
Charlie?
looks like 21. If
And I think that's out of about, is it 39 points?
Yeah.
So you're saying 21 points out of 39. And that would leave us on a points tally of 21 plus 40.
60 something.
Fucking hell. That's not much better than Potts
64.
left us.
64.
Potts had us on 62, wasn't it?
Oh.
63? Trust the process, people. There you go. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up there. Big up to everyone that's been watching. And I'm sorry we can't be... I mean, we try and be as positive as we can. I mean, it's not a very positive time, is it? So, you know, you kind of just got to... There you fucking have it. Father, big up to you. Thanks for coming on, mate. That was your first episode on the pod.
Thank
Charlie
you.
as well, Nina. Check out their channel, guys. Subscribe. They'll be in the description as well. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And we'd love to know your thoughts on everything going on at the moment as well. All the best.
Blue Co out.
Mustard.
It's a good way to finish it, I guess, isn't it? Thanks, guys.
Mustard. Mustard. Just slick.